Okay, so we're gonna continue. Oh, that was disgusting. Sorry. I forgot that I was still on the highlighter. We're gonna go ahead and do problem number 3, which is y is less than 3/2 x minus 2, and y is greater than or equal to 3/2 x plus 3. And so again, and one thing I want to remind you while I draw this graph is that all of our problems here have been isolated for y. This won't last long, okay? As my husband says, it won't last. We're gonna see somewhere you have to isolate here in just a moment, but I just wanted one more where it was already isolated. So this already is in y equals mx plus b form. So I'm gonna start with my y-intercept of the -2, and I'm gonna go up 3 and right 2. In order to do my slope, again, check the inequality sign. It's less than, not less than or equal to, and do the dash. This is when pencils are a little bit helpful because anytime you accidentally do it solid and you're like, oh, it has to be dashed, you can just erase it, so that is helpful every now and again. And now it's less than, so that means I'm going to shade below the line. Okay, and again, if you're ever confused with what's above and what's below, I don't know, you can always utilize a test point. I truly don't really use it very often, but you can always utilize a test point. Okay, and then let's go ahead and do our other line inequality. So we have a y-intercept of 3, and then a slope of up 3 and right 2. Okay, and that is going to be solid because it's greater than or equal to. Oh, that was a little disgusting. Oh, dear God in heaven. Please forgive my awful lines. Okay, so now, and y is greater than, so my shading is going to go over here. What you may notice is there is 0 overlap. That can happen sometimes. Sometimes you do want to double check, make sure you did the shading right and all that stuff. But man, I am right with this. Anytime that happens, you would answer no solution. Okay, there are no solutions to this because there is no overlap from the inequality. So therefore, that's all you can do is no solution. All right. Now, I told you it would happen, and it has. So I've got 4x minus 3y is less than or equal to 9. And I'm going to write it like this. X plus 3y is greater than 6. So these are my two inequalities, and I wrote them like this just because we are going to have to isolate the y. Okay? So I'm going to take this first one. I'm first going to subtract the 4x from both sides to get into the y equals mx plus b. Then I have to divide by -3. Please note, anytime you divide or multiply both sides by a negative number in an inequality, this inequality sign has to flip. I do that first personally just so I don't forget, because I do. I tend to forget to switch that sign. So I'm now going to do the math. I have a positive 4/3 x, and that -3, because positive 9 divided by -3 is -3. So at this point we're good. Y is isolated. I'll graph that in a moment, but now I need to isolate this y. So I'm going to first subtract the x, so I get -x plus 6, and now I divide the 3. Now, the 3 is not negative in this case, so therefore my inequality sign stays the same. It does not flip, okay, because I divided by a positive. So then -x over 3 is -1/3 x, and 6 over 3 is 2. So now these are the two that I'm going to go ahead and graph, okay? So I'll do that on the next page. Oh, dear. I'm really bad at drawing a straight line. Please don't tell Mrs. Long. She'd be really upset. Okay, so again, I had y is greater than or equal to 4/3 x minus 3, and y is greater than -1/3 x plus 2. So I'm going to go ahead and graph this guy here. So I'm at the -3. Oh. And then I'm going to go up 4 and right 3. It's not wanting to take my dot there. And then I check the sign. It is greater than or equal to. So I am going to, oh, that was a little bit gross. Just forgive me. Just ignore it. I just pretend I didn't do that. It is greater than or equal to, so I am going to shade above. Okay. And now let's do my other line. And so my y-intercept is at 2. And my slope is -1/3, which means I'm going to go down 1 and right 3. Oh, cute. They intersect at the same point. That's adorable. I am going to check that inequality sign. It is greater than. So I am going to go ahead and make sure that's dashed. And it is greater than. So I'm going to shade above. And remember, you do need to identify where that solution set is on the graph, whether it's with a third color or you just take one of the colors and just color the, daylights out of this area, because that is the solution set there. And again, just a reminder, I may ask, what are some points that are part of the solution? You could give me something like, I don't know, 0, 4. That's a point in the solution right there. Okay. You could give me 2, 3. That's a point in the solution. I mean, that is like a solution to this system of inequalities. So the big thing is, anytime you have a system of inequalities, you have multiple solutions. Okay. And I've got one last one just for a little fun. Okay, and again, I wrote it like this just because we're going to have to isolate the y. This one on the left is going to be super easy. Y is greater than -x plus 2. Okay, this one not as easy. I'm going to go ahead and move that 2x over, so I subtract it. And then I do need to divide by a -1. Please don't forget. Please remember, how about I don't use a negative, how about I just say please remember to make sure, oh, of course, I wrote that and then I didn't even flip the sign. You have to flip that inequality sign. You have to remember to flip that anytime you multiply or divide both sides by a negative. And so that's going to be a positive y, and that's actually going to be a positive 2x and a -1. Okay, so let's go on that next page and let's go ahead and graph this. Okay, so again, just a reminder, we have y is greater than -x plus 2 and y is less than 2x minus 1. So I will graph this first one. My y-intercept is at positive 2, and I'm going to go down 1 and right 1. And it is greater than, so that means I am going to have that dashed line. And because it's greater than, I'm going to shade above. And let's do my other inequality. So I'm down 1 for my y-intercept, and I'm going to go up 2 and right 1. Oh, cute, they ran into each other again. That's adorable. This happened twice. I must have picked them right. And then I'm going to do a dashed line because it's less than, not less than or equal to. And because it's less than, I'm going to shade below. Okay, and so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that, that purple line and that red line, those are the two kind of boundaries for my solution set. And again, always be ready for me to ask, give, 3 ordered pairs that are part of the solution set, or, 3 coordinates that are part of the solution set. But for the most part, that is the gist of graphing systems of inequalities and solving them truly, because we are finding the solution set. And then just with more practice, you'll be more comfortable with graphing and with understanding the solution set.